Joining us now from Denver, Southwest Captain Second Vice President of the Southwest Pilots Association, Tom Nekouei. Captain Nekouei, when you hear Gabe describing what passengers have been telling him and you see the same scene of stranded people in airports across the country with Southwest responsible for the vast majority of these flight cancellations, what is your reaction?
Thanks for having me on. I can tell you that I, um, I'm happy to hear that Mr. Jordan is finally coming to terms with the fact that we have internal problems that have kind of perpetuated this and caused this after the snow event that we had last Wednesday. And but I do disagree with him on one thing: the tools that we have to recover from these irregular operations don't work 99% of the time. They might have worked 99% of the time back in the 80s and the 90s, but the size that we are right now, if you look at our meltdowns that are increasing in number and increasing in intensity, and the recovery times from these meltdowns are becoming longer and longer. By the time we're out of this one, it'll be well over 9 days, at least what they're planning on doing. So when I hear passengers like that, the external customers, we love our jobs, we love our company, and we love our passengers. So when we hear that, somebody said it earlier today that we're kind of tired of apologizing on behalf of the company because they haven't given us tools, as Mr. Jordan alluded to as well, to do our jobs, to complete the flights or schedule the crews. This was very much self-perpetuated because of the massive reassignments that the company does. If you look at our competitors right here in Denver, United Airlines, for instance, they went through the exact same weather system as we did. And they didn't cancel as many flights, and B, their recovery is extremely, it's very expeditious versus us. We're still recovering with 15,000 bags at the airport, and now we're over 15,000 canceled flights. So those tools that we identified actually back in 2016 and brought it to the attention of the previous CEO, Gary Kelly, this is basically what's happening now, and that's the lack of infrastructure, the crew scheduling system and the software that is not adequate, and the massive reassignments that they do with pilots and flight attendants to get them to the airplane. That that's an execution problem to get pilots and flight attendants to the airplanes to operate once something like a weather event or an air traffic control event happens. This company has a really hard time recovering.
So then if the company had listened to you and your colleagues back in 2016 and upgraded the systems then, would this dramatic disruption still be happening? What do you think?
We believe so. We believe that it wouldn't be happening, and not to deliver severity. We have communication and documents that we sent over to the company, that we communicated with the company back in 2016, because we're a very analytical organization. SWAPA is very data driven, and we showed them exactly what's causing these recovery from these meltdowns, and that is reassignments. Reassignments meaning pilots that are on a certain trip are supposed to fly a certain trip get reassigned right away in massive numbers. We're talking 14 to 1,500% increases in reassignments when a weather event happens. And the problem that the company had was an infrastructure IT problem to be able to get those pilots to those airplanes. That has been going on since 2016. We identified that problem. And earlier this month, we announced $428 million in dividend payment to shareholders. I am one. It's great. But the proportional amount has not been reinvested in the company infrastructure, IT being the biggest one. And that's why we're seeing these meltdowns that are getting worse and worse, and the recovery is becoming pretty impossible, really.
Yeah, and it's interesting, a lot of the context here that, according to the Wall Street Journal, Southwest has grown over the past few years, expanding to 18 new cities and becoming profitable again after the pandemic. And I was just reading the CEO's bio, and apparently he used to be in charge of technology for Southwest. In fact, that's how he started his job there at Southwest. So there's a lot more questions that all of this raises. But Captain Tom Nekouei, thank you for helping us better understand the thinking from the union and other captains with Southwest. We appreciate it.